Trump talked drug policy and her signature Be Best campaign over lunch Wednesday with her Colombian counterpart, Maria Juliana Ruiz Sandoval. Wearing a pretty pink and white checked Fendi coat with a pink belt and pink mink fur on the cuffs, the First Lady joined her husband in welcoming the President and First Lady of Colombia to the White House. After a photo spray in the Oval Office, where President Donald Trump bumped into his wife while the couples were getting settled, the ladies split off from the men for separate lunches. Last week the First Lady, who has made anti-opioid work a central tenet of her Be Best campaign, said she would speak to Sandoval when they met. "I will have a plan to talk to her about the crisis of opioids," Melania Trump said during a briefing with officials at the Office of National Drug Policy. The two First Ladies discussed the opioid crisis, particularly its impact globally on children and young mothers, according to the East Wing. Melania Trump also discussed the drug addiction problems among the young she is working to combat as part of her Be Best initiative. "Last week I met with experts at the Office of National Drug Control Policy to learn more about the harmful effects of substance abuse and the steps we are taking to address this problem," the First Lady said in a statement. "We must continue raising awareness so parents and communities can understand fully the harm that opioids are having on our children." My conversation with the First Lady of Colombia today further encouraged a global mission to fighting the addiction crisis and issues facing children domestically and all around the world. Colombia sees large quantities of heroin produced and then trafficked to the United States. At a town hall meeting in Virginia in November, the First Lady talked about why she incorporated anti-drug work into her campaign. "When I took on opioid abuse as one of the pillars of my initiative Be Best, I did it with the goal of helping children of all ages. I have visited several hospitals and facilities that are dedicated to helping all who have been affected by this disease, including people who are addicted, babies born addicted and families coping with addiction of a loved one," she said. Every day, more than 130 people in the United States die after overdosing on opioids, according to the National Institute on Drug Abuse. Last week Melania Trump held her first official event since the government shutdown ended and focused on an anti-drug, anti-opioid message that makes up her Be Best campaign. She began her Thursday morning rallying youth who work to keep drugs out of their communities, and then received a briefing from government officials on the efforts being made to combat drug trafficking and programs to help counter addiction. The First Lady kept a low profile during the 35-day government shutdown that was the longest in history. She had half her office staff furloughed during the time the government was closed, including her advance teams and support staff that planned events. She did join the President on his visit to U.S. troops in Iraq on the day after Christmas, and she watched his State of the Union address from the First Lady's box on Tuesday night. She was active on social media during the shutdown and had a heavy schedule in December with holiday receptions at the White House, visits to troops in the Washington, D.C. area, a visit to the National Children's Hospital, and helping Marines with their Toys for Tots campaign.